There's something about the firelight in the midst of backcountry darkness that seems to produce a good tale. The Outside website recently featured 3 of their favourite true campfire stories about some very eerie occurrences. The Ghost of Oxford Milford Road. Brad Culp was studying at Miami University in Oxford, Ohio, when he heard the rumour that the town was one of the most haunted locations in America. When he established an on-campus magazine, he was very keen to write about some of the area's best-known spectres. Soon after he published these accounts, one ghost in particular kept reappearing in his imagination, the ghost of Oxford Milford Road. The events occurred many decades ago, probably during the 1940s, when there was a young man courting a young woman who lived in the town's countryside. The woman's parents did not approve of the relationship, so that every night he would visit under the cover of darkness. After her parents had gone to bed, the young woman would tiptoe out of the farmhouse and flash the headlights of her parents' car 3 times. This signalled her young suitor that he could ride his motorcycle down the road to meet her. According to Culp, one night he took the turn just before her house a bit too abruptly. The motorcycle flipped one way and he went the other. His injuries were so serious that he did not survive. Witnesses have claimed, however, that his love-struck spirit still haunts this stretch of Milford Road. Culp, his girlfriend who is now his wife, and a friend were intrigued by the story and decided to head out there one evening to see if they could verify the reports. While Culp's girlfriend was nervous about a possible sighting, he was more concerned that his suspicions that none of the stories were actually true would be confirmed. As they passed the abandoned farm that night, an idea occurred to him which he suggested to her. Although reluctant, she agreed, and Culp made a short entry into the farmhouse driveway. He turned off the engine and flashed his headlights 3 times. The 3 friends were astonished to see a single headlight which appeared 3/4 of a mile down the deserted road. They watched as it started to approach, travelling quite slowly but continuing to advance. Culp's girlfriend became terrified as it came closer and closer. As finally a collision seemed imminent, Culp switched on his car lights. He had expected to see a kid on a bike, perhaps playing a trick on them, but now caught out. But there was nothing there, and the light had disappeared. They got out of the car and walked around, trying to work out what it was they could have seen. To this day, the couple swears that the story is true and would probably dare a listener to park for a few minutes on Oxford Milford Road at night to test their own nerve. Bizarre events. Doug Averill is the retired owner and manager of the Flathead Lake Lodge. He grew up as one of 8 brothers on their parents' sprawling ranch, the Flathead Lake Lodge in rural Montana. As teenagers, the Averill boys frequently rode horses around the property, checking on cattle. The family managed 3 huge tracts of land which lay in a triangle around some of the state's most remote terrain. One summer during the 1960s, the brothers made a ghastly find. Lying on the ground were 3 deceased cows neatly arranged in a circle. No obvious wounds were evident, but their reproductive organs had been removed. The site was clean, without any blood, seemingly an almost surgical removal, as remembered by Averill. This was a decade which saw the country obsessed with aliens, and coverage in the local newspapers suggested that perhaps this was the work of otherworldly visitors. People mused that the curious interlopers had taken the reproductive organs for testing. Until one day when Averill and some friends found a lance in their path. A strange note carrying a threatening message was attached to it. The friends then decided that it had to be people doing these strange things. However, over the next few days, a series of unnerving events unfolded. On the first occasion, the brothers pulled into a local bar to get something to eat, leaving their horses in the rear of a truck. The horses were packed in tightly and the men were gone for only a few minutes, but when they returned, the horse packed right into the centre of the truck was mysteriously outside of it with no signs of a struggle. The brothers had no idea how anyone could possibly have got the horse unloaded without unloading all the other horses. The following day, a new wrangler at the ranch fell from his horse and was badly injured. The crew had all been riding together, but not a single other person saw the accident. The freak incident was seen as completely strange. The man's injuries were so serious that he was left permanently disabled. A final terrible thing happened when an old camp cook travelled out to meet the brothers and ride for a day. But on arrival, he realised that the tailgate on his stock truck had somehow gone missing, despite definitely being there when he'd loaded up. His horse, Betsy, had fallen from the truck and been dragged behind it, now sadly needing to be euthanised on the spot. The man was devastated to see what had happened to Betsy. The brothers reflected on those 3 events happening so rapidly in a row, but seemingly all tied together, as though immediately after they saw the ominous object of the spear. There seemed to be a theme of 3s. Averill told these stories for years, but recently got a call about a downed bull, a buffalo, out in one of the more remote areas of his ranch. On going to investigate, he found the deceased bull in a snow-covered field, but there was no evidence of animal or human foul play on its form. Unusually, even the buzzards hadn't touched it. Only one thing was noticeable: its reproductive organs were taken. However, there was not one footprint in the surrounding snow or anywhere along the mile-long trek into the ranch from the nearest road. The ghost of La Pava. Throughout Latin America, people relate varied sightings of La Llorona, or the Wailing Woman. Sometimes she is seeking her husband, sometimes she has lost her children, and sometimes it's both. In La Pava, a ski resort in the Chilean Andes, the Wailing Woman is called Lola, and all the locals swear they knew her before she passed. According to professional skier Drew Tabke, a local restaurant owner claims to have dated her, while the ski patroller who told him the story pointed at the exact hut where the events took place. One pleasant day in peak ski season, Lola and her young son decided to spend time out on the slopes. As can occur in the Andes, a thick fog arose from the valley, which often precedes the start of a large storm. The clouds enveloped the pair as they were trekking down from the top of the mountain, and they lost contact with each other. In desperation to find her son, Lola started screaming his name as she clambered through the thick fog. Then, unable to clearly see her way ahead, she stumbled down a steep incline and began sliding towards a rocky ravine. Tabke related that by chance, a local lift operator who was on his way back to his cabin came across her. He was afraid that she had passed, but on closer inspection found that she was still just barely alive. Her body was covered in cuts from sharp rocks, and the only word she spoke in a faint whisper was her son's name. The lift operator carefully dragged Lola to his cabin, which was just up the hill. He treated her injuries as best he could and then rushed to fetch the doctor, who accompanied him back to his hut in the thick fog. However, when they arrived, the bed was empty and just the bloody sheets remained. Tabke related that neither the woman nor the son were ever found. The incident's eerie aftermath is that locals report hearing Lola wail for her child whenever they go near that lift operator's cabin. Although Tabke does not believe in ghosts, there are times when at his cabin in La Pava he swears that he can't really tell if what he can hear is a wailing woman or the wind.